My dog is very interested in this last filing by Tati Westbrook. Aren't you, big guy? Are you interested in this? Some would say he seems uninterested. This is his interested face. Zoom in on it, Busy. This is his interested face. So this new lawsuit in the Tati Westbrook court case, defamation case without a crystal ball, is pretty bad. They've elaborated in the new filing. Let me show you what I mean. Here's an example right here. Here's an example. There were more than 100 postings on Twitter and other locations on the internet. The case arises out of these widespread incidences of defamation and the ongoing campaign of harassment the defendants have waged against the plaintiff. You're going to say, well, give me some examples, Unirock. I've got nothing but examples. Failure to state claim arguments based dismissal. In the motion, defendants attempt to distract the court from the defects in their arguments by relying on inadmissible evidence and extensively reciting wholly irrelevant facts. They start later to cite case law. I am not a lawyer, so I don't care to even go over that. Emily D. Baker and Nate the lawyer are the people to watch for those things. Though from a YouTube standpoint, I'm going to break this down. Finally, the defendants fail to acknowledge their deletion of evidence, particularly YouTube videos, destroying evidence relevant to their jurisdictional objection. Now, we do know that Katie claimed that she didn't delete evidence, though other people showed that when you went to the videos, it showed the same message that did show that she deleted. So it looks like maybe there were just a couple that were deleted, the others were privated. It goes on further, though. Defendants Paulson and WACB announced their campaign of harassment against Tati and their plan to dig into her background and expose her. And then they literally link to the famous YouTube video that we've all seen. In the video, they state they are going to dig into Tati. And even more than that, it says, they conducted more in-depth searches than a simple background check. Why would anyone do this? Why do you need to do that for your content? Finding this out, I think, was the biggest catalyst for taking people who thought the lawsuit may not have a ground to thinking that it does, because it continues. That people can go to the different databases within each state to find, now this is what she's telling her audience. Oh, I'm sorry, you can actually go state to state and pull that stuff up. Go to the different databases within each of the states to find info, which defendants admit is what they did to get personal information regarding Tati and her family. Tati might just be big enough on YouTube for people to argue that she's a public figure, but her family isn't. This violates YouTube's TOS, doing this to people, especially if it comes in a court case. Defendants also assert that Tati's address is online too, but they weren't going to provide that. Defendants further state they continued digging through more and more info, going through marriage records and birth certificates. This is almost the clincher. A lot of people are going to look at this and only think about its relevance to the court case. What about to YouTube terms of service? What about the terms of service? Specifically asserting it was weird that they could not find the birth certificate. Defendants then go on to discuss the extensive public records and social media pages they searched regarding Tati's parents and her two sisters, lamenting about how they could not find info regarding the father. Again, most people look at this and say, this thing is just jacked up, man. So, I mean, if YouTube gets these examples, I've only picked out the things that I think matter to show you. I'm not going to go through all of it. They talk about going through extreme steps to gain personal information. They planned an expose on Tati, and I think adding "and her family" into this is the major clincher for it breaching TOS. And I asked myself here, is Tati and her lawyer going to send this into YouTube? Because if they do, YouTube wouldn't be able to say she didn't breach. I don't think anybody wants her to lose her channel, but I don't think anybody wants anyone to lose their channel. But if you break TOS, it's... So defendants discuss research they've done into Tati's childhood and family. Then again, that's bad. Also specifically talk about the two sisters and mother. I wanted to stress it again. It's so major that you have to let that sink in. They claim they don't want to put Tati and James's address out. They don't want to show their viewers like where they live. At the end of the video, the defendants thank their viewers for sticking with them in their two-part expose. And if they uncover more info, they'll deliver it to the viewers, essentially stating that it was an ongoing thing. Defendants admit that Tati and James moved back to Seattle. Defendants reference Tati and James' purchase of a house in LA. So you got the point there, right? Defendants' Washington viewership and plaintiffs' harm in the forum. Talk about drama. This is where it gets straight nuclear. This is a content nuke dropped in court, okay? Defendants, Washington viewership plaintiffs. Defendants' viewership includes residents of Washington. And contrary to the misleading statements in the declaration, defendants know that their content is published to viewers there during multiple live-streamed videos, and they list them 3 to 4 months before the filing of the declaration. Washington residents expressly identified their locations to the defendant in the live stream chat. This is why it's really bad for her to have deleted those things. It shows that she knows how bad it is for her case and that she tried to take it away. In addition, in a live stream dated, defendant specifically interrupts the stream to acknowledge and say hello to Patricia from the state of Washington. So it's starting to get really bad here. And defendant specifically interrupted to say hello to Patricia. Moreover, the publication of harassing and defamatory content about Tati and her family and her business to Washington viewers. This is where they allege and connect defamation, caused such viewers to stop supporting Tati. One of the reasons Washington viewers watched Tati is because she was from Washington. Moreover, defendant's publication of the harassing and defamatory content about Tati and her business to Washington viewers caused such a viewership to stop supporting Tati, thus meeting the burden for their claim of defamation. That's what they're trying to do, not saying it happened. That's what they're trying to do. They stopped ordering Tati's products, stopped watching her monetized channel, and stopped following the social media, and it damaged Tati, James, and Halo's business interests. In addition, defendants' Tati-related content caused Washington residents to think less of and develop negative feelings towards Tati, James, and Halo. Now, they bring up a viewer. Defendant's name on Twitter and showing a screenshot of the computer screen of Katie's containing the Twitter DM list. And it appears that a supporter, a viewer of Tati Westbrook, is being DM'd by KJP. This is bad. How did that ever show up? Why did she let that happen? It establishes a pretty bad precedent here, doesn't it? The defendants, now this is like a list of them saying this is exactly what she did. Defendants searched through and relied upon Washington sources for their harassing and defamatory stories about the plaintiff. In those stories, defendants discussed plaintiff's significant Washington connection. Defendants knew or should have known that such stories had viewership in Washington. Defendants published the defamatory statements in Washington, deriving income from such publications, which they knew would cause injury to all the plaintiffs. This is a little different than what we've been seeing, because this is where they go to play hardball. They're not playing softball anymore. They've moved on to start dropping the nukes when it comes to this case. Now, it moves on to get even crazier. A tort of libel is generally held to occur whenever the offending material is circulated. The reputation of the libel victim may suffer harm even in a state which has hitherto been anonymous. Basically saying it doesn't matter where you're from. The communication of the libel may create a negative reputation among the residents of a jurisdiction where the plaintiff's previous reputation was, however small, at least unblemished. Thus, even predicting or preceding. Get me? So some of the things she's saying could have an effect even in the future on her. If it's false, if it's not true, if it's not real. This is where they really do their work, because they even reference other case law. And in one of those cases, where defendants were not owners of a newspaper and did not have an economic interest in the publication or circulation of the newspaper. In this case, the defendant was the magazine and it profited from circulation in the forum state. The Supreme Court found that even though only a small portion of the total number of defamatory issues were circulated in the forum, the repeated circulation of the magazine in the forum was sufficient to establish jurisdiction. Therefore, comparing YouTube to what happened with this, the fact that the videos played in Washington was enough to establish it, and they link another case that proves this. Got me? From the beginning, defendants repeatedly claimed to know everything there was to know about the plaintiff. So WLACB claimed to know everything about Tati and their business because they had researched everything and everywhere, including birth certificates, financial records, and more. This is getting really bad if you read through this. It's getting really bad for Katie in this. Tati has a really good lawyer, is what it is. They were waiting just to drop. They dropped it right before Christmas, too. It's crazy, dude. As well as the... Now, this is where it almost gets, like, horrendous, because as well as Tati's entire Washington-based family, and they link, and they back it up. In fact, the same May 19 video referenced above, they flippantly question whether her father was in the mafia. What they're doing is showing the worst things. The lawsuit starts off and just lists things they know are against YouTube's TOS. They show proven behavior that's against YouTube's TOS. And I started saying, damn, are they trying to get her channel taken down? Then they go in to show the family members that are not public figures, that are private individuals, where she's asking if they're in the mafia for no reason whatsoever. What are you going to think if you're a jury or a judge looking at that? It seems crazy town. Harmed by the defendant's defamatory content, and that Tati and James both experienced emotional distress in Washington as a result of the defamation. Defrauding lenders, engaging in fraud, and money laundering, right? That's not necessarily an opinion-based type thing. It's a really big accusation. The onslaught of internet postings and videos, 40 plus, harassing and defaming Tati in that 19-month period with the intent of harming their business and causing distress also demonstrates the outrageous conduct of Katie. Defendants were not innocently reporting, they were falsely imputing criminal conduct. That approximately 135K subs on which they regularly post videos. The defendants' topics of interest include drama and tea and gossip, have a pattern of practice of denigrating, harassing, and defaming others without bothering to verify the false statements. It's crazy. The complaint alleges Paulson openly stated on her various platforms that she will not stop going after the plaintiffs, and she's otherwise openly dared them to sue. How? Why? I really feel like they're trying to get her channel deleted by listing all these anti-TOS things in this lawsuit. Maybe they're going to plan on sending it to YouTube once they win. I don't know if they win. And then they say they want the restraining order, and now they want full discovery to obtain relevant evidence in defendant's custody and control. This is too much. This is too much. See you in the next one. Unirock out.
I ain't no fool. I ain't no fool. So what do you mean?